Hello everyone, thank you for watching my live stream. I'm Mr. Matt and this is Dr. Tot. Dr. Tot, you want a cookie? Cookie for class? Very good. And welcome to SAT, ACT Prep. We're going to continue some miscellaneous practice problems involving the writing skills section, mainly focusing today on parallelism, which is the repetition of consistent grammatical structures. We're going to look at some adjective-adverb confusion. Remember that adjectives modify nouns, adverbs modify adverbs, verbs, and prepositions sometimes. We're also going to look at some problems involving effective and concise writing, so not using repetitive and redundant language. Also some diction problems, which is primarily focused on word choice and selecting the correct preposition in idiomatic phrases and expressions, and also commas. There's a lot of rules with commas, and we're going to get specifically into the SAT relevant rules in a separate video that will outlay all of them. Specifically here, we're going to look at apositive clauses as well as just the general construction of independent, dependent, dependent, independent, as well as independent, independent clause constructions and combinations. If you have any questions at any point, feel free to let me know in the live chat question feed, as well as in the comments below if you're watching the recording. If you like these videos and you find them helpful, then please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. I'm available on all of my social media accounts that are listed in the description below. So feel free if you have any questions or recommendations for videos to reach out to me. Otherwise, let me share my screen with you. Just a reminder, these are live sessions, so there's a little bit of a delay, but I'll try to mitigate that as best as possible. And otherwise, let's just go ahead and get started. And I do apologize. My screen is not working. Just give me 1 second. Let me reconnect. I'm so sorry. Live broadcast, what are you going to do? Technology nowadays, you know. Let's see. Hopefully this will reconnect and it'll be a lot faster. Go right to the question, please. iPad. Okay. Finally. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. All right, number one, there are 7 cars here, comma, because 5 cars over there. A is no change. In SAT problems, in the writing skills section on the SAT, the questions are formatted in this way, where A is typically no change, so that is how it's originally stated in the underlined portion. So A, no change, B, here, comma, and 5, here, period, 5, or here, semicolon, 5. Number 2 asks, water is an amazing polar molecule, period, capable of participating in powerful cohesion and adhesion forces. So I'm going to give you 3 minutes. After 1 minute, I'll start to give you some hints, and then we'll go through a full explanation. I'll keep track of the time in the upper left-hand corner, and I'll do my best to update it per minute. Okay, so for number 1, there are 7 cars here, comma, because 5 cars over there. So using the conjunction because here doesn't really make sense. Because implies a cause-effect relationship. We're looking for a support signal or supporting conjunction. So and works here. And also, usually I would say that there wouldn't be there isn't always a necessity for a comma there if the clauses are quite short like this. But technically, being like a strict grammarist, you would technically need a comma. But sometimes you might see writing that doesn't use commas when the clauses are really short like that. So I just wanted to let you know. So it's not a contradiction of this. It's just a different consistency and sensitivity to how short the clauses might be. For number 2, water is an amazing polar molecule. That's a deep independent clause. We have a subject, water. We have a verb, is. And then the rest of the sentence would be classified as the predicate. So we have a complete sentence. Then that we're following that with capable of participating in powerful cohesion and adhesion forces. There is no subject in that clause. So that is a dependent clause, meaning that it cannot stand on its own. The correct punctuation when you have an independent dependent clause would be independent, comma, dependent. So you need to place a comma between the two clauses without a conjunction. Only when you're attaching 2 independent clauses, so 2 complete sentences, you can attach them together into one sentence, but you need to use a comma conjunction when you're using combining complete sentences. When one of them is not a complete sentence, when one of them is a dependent clause, then you just use a comma. If you have any questions, then please let me know. Otherwise, let's look at 3 and 4. So question number 3 asks, Thomas visits Vermont every winter to ski, comma, go hiking, comma, and likes to shop. 4 asks, the hat in the back of the hat that is second to the right of the last in that row is my favorite. So I'll read that again. The hat in the back of the hat that is second to the right of the last in that row is my favorite. Kind of a tongue twister. I'll give you 3 minutes, and then after 1 minute, I'll give you some hints. Okay, so for number 3, we want to make sure that all the items that are listed in this comma series, ski, go hiking, and likes to shop, are parallel in form. So that means that they should be consistent grammatical structures. We can't change the phrase to ski because it's not underlined. So that's in the infinitive form. When you have the preposition to and then the non-conjugated verb, let's to ski, to run, to walk, to go. That's considered the infinitive form. So we want to make sure that all of these other verbal phrases are also in the infinitive. And in true fashion, oftentimes the shortest answer is also the correct answer because good language is economic, it's concise, and it's effective because of its brevity, and that influences its impact. So C here for number 3 is the correct answer. To match to hike and matching going back to using in the same form as to go along with the preposition to. Thomas visits Vermont every winter to ski, hike, and shop is the correct answer there for number 3. For number 4, the hat in the back of the hat that is second to the right of the last hat in that row is my favorite. I added in their hat there because we had a dangling modifier that wasn't applied to any noun, so I added hat in there to make it a little bit clearer. In the back of is not a correct idiomatic phrase, so the correct word for that, the correct word choice would be behind. So the hat behind the hat that is second to the right of the last hat in that row is my favorite. If you have any questions, then please let me know. Otherwise, let's look at questions 5 and 6. Uh, 5 and 6 are going to be testing adjective and adverb form. 5 asks, or states rather, blueberry pie tastes sweetly. 6 says peach cobbler tastes more sweetly than blueberry pie. So I'll give you 3 minutes. After 1 minute, I'll start to give you some hints. Okay, so for 5, blueberry pie tastes sweetly. So this is getting into the difference between adjectives and adverbs. So adjectives modify nouns, or they could modify pronouns because pronouns can stand for or do stand for other nouns. But mainly adjectives modify nouns. Adverbs mainly modify verbs, but they can also modify other adverbs as well as prepositions. But here, sweetly, adverbs have that very distinguishable ly suffix. So that ending of ly pretty makes it very discernible, or you can easily identify the fact that it's a adverb rather than an adjective. So the adverb sweetly is modifying the verb taste here. So it means that the blueberry pie tastes in a sweet manner, which doesn't really make sense. It's applying human characteristics to the blueberry pie, implying that it has the ability to taste in a sweet fashion, meaning like almost polite in the secondary meaning of sweet, not like sweet to the taste. If we were to use the adjective, though, then that would be modifying the noun blueberry pie, or pie, because blueberry is modifying the noun pie. Blueberry is an adjective here. Pie is the noun. So if we modify the noun pie by using an adjective, sweet, rather than using an adverb, sweetly, which is modifying the verb tastes, then we're implying that the blueberry pie has a sweet flavor, rather than it is now participating in the action of tasting in a sweet manner. There's an old, I guess like proverb, or just I guess a phrase that English teachers, my English teacher in elementary school, used to teach me the difference between adjectives and adverbs. And so they say roses don't have noses. And so roses smell sweet. Roses don't smell sweetly. Because if roses smelled sweetly, that's implying that roses have a nose, and they're kind of like politely wafting into the air and smelling the aromas around them, applying human characteristics to the plant, which is not correct. So in order to say that correctly, you would say roses smell sweet, not roses smell sweetly. Same thing here. Blueberry pie tastes sweet, not taste sweetly. We want to use the adjective in the positive form. There's three forms. I put 4 fingers up. There's 3 forms to an adjective and an adverb. You have the positive, you have the comparative, and you have the superlative. Here in number 5, we're just dealing with the positive because we're making a declarative statement about one item or one object or noun. Blueberry pie tastes sweet. In number 6, we're comparing 2 different things. We're comparing peach cobbler to blueberry pie. So we're going to need to use the comparative form of whatever we choose to use, whether it's an adjective or an adverb. And then also we need to ask ourselves whether we intend to modify the verb taste, as we're doing now with the phrase more sweetly. Notice sweetly has that ly ending, so we know it's an adverb. So this is modifying the verb taste. So that, again, is implying that peach cobbler tastes or participates in the action of tasting something with its mouth in a sweet manner, which we can obviously tell is absurd. We really want to use the adjective here, the comparative form of the adjective, to compare the noun peach cobbler to the noun blueberry pie. So peach cobbler tastes sweeter with that suffix er on the end. Peach cobbler tastes sweeter than blueberry pie. If you have any questions, then please let me know. Otherwise, let's look at questions 7 and 8. Question 7. Congress will affect the law on the first day of January. And question number 8, the judge could tell from the prosecutor's aggressive effect that she had a personal bias against the defendant. So I'll give you 3 minutes. After 1 minute, I'll start to give you some hints. Okay, so for 7 and 8, we're really just testing the diction of and word choice between affect and effect when used as a verb or a noun, and whether it begins with an A or an E. So that's what makes this word, these homonyms, really tricky, because they sound very similar, unless you shift your pronunciation a little bit with affect versus effect. But they sound very similar. Then on top of it, they can both be used as nouns and verbs, and whenever they're used in those different forms, they mean all different things. So there's 4 different meanings here that you need to know between affect and effect, with an A and with an E respectively. And with effect, I wrote there cause at first, and I had to erase it because that doesn't make any sense. It means more result or outcome. So if we look at this chart, it would affect with an A. I put a star next to the form that's most common, and the other one is the less common exception, or the less common secondary meaning or usage of the word. So with affect with an A, we typically use affect with an A as a verb to use to influence. So the low temperature in the room affects my ability to concentrate. So it's influencing in a negative capacity my ability to concentrate. But it also can be used as a noun, and that's less common because that's more and it's usually pronounced affect. It doesn't have to be. That's just a hard consonant versus a soft consonant sound. But affect is a psychological term, and it means somebody's overall demeanor, or especially when it comes to their facial expressions. But for example, the answer to number 8 is affect used as a noun. The judge could tell from the prosecutor's aggressive affect that she had a personal bias against the defendant. So affect here means the prosecutor's overall physical demeanor or facial expressions, the feeling that you get from somebody's behavior or tone towards you. So I just explained that. 8 was B. Effect with an E can also be used as a noun or a verb. When used as a noun, which it most commonly is, it means the result or an outcome. But it can also be used as a verb to mean to bring about in an official capacity, which is how it's used in 7. So 7 should be effect with an E. Congress will affect the law on the first day of January. So they're going to bring about the law, pass it, in an official capacity. So it will become an actual law. So the answer to 7 was D. The answer to 8 was B. If you have any questions, then please let me know. Otherwise, let's look at 9 and 10. 9 and 10 are going to look at parallelism and as well as conciseness and diction. So question number 9. Adina's employer made her job description clear. Feed the kittens, take the dogs for a walk, and she should clean the ferret cages. Number 10. The trip was started too late. So I'll give you 3 minutes. After 1 minute, I'll start to give you some hints. Okay, so for number 9, Adina's employer made her job description clear. Feed the kittens, take the dogs for a walk, and she should clean the ferret cages. Uh, so we need to make sure that these items are in consistent form, but these items are also are obviously a list of items. So that word clear is coming before a list, so we also want to introduce the list with the correct punctuation. We know that a colon introduces a list, and then also we want to make sure each item is consistent in its grammatical form. Feed the kittens. So if we diagram these phrases, feed the kittens, we have a verb, feed, we have an article, the, we have kittens, a noun. So we have verb, article, noun. Take the dogs for a walk. Notice there you have a verb, article, noun, preposition, article, verb. That's not the same thing as verb, article, noun. In the last phrase, she should clean the ferret cages. So there you have a pronoun, then you have a conditional form of a verbal phrase, should, then you have a verb, then you have an article, then you have a ferret. Ferret cages, ferret is acting as an adjective here for the word cages, because it's the cages that are for the ferrets. So you can see that these are not consistent grammatical forms. D translates that into consistent grammatical forms. Feed the kittens, walk the dogs, and clean the ferret cages. Notice that the last one, clean the ferret cages, we have that extra modifying adjective ferret to be specific about which cages we are to clean. So even though that makes the last phrase not exactly parallel, it's necessary in order to not change the intended meaning of the sentence. So you wouldn't cut out the adjective ferret just because it's keeping it from being exactly the same as the other items in the list. So here you bend the rule a little bit, but everything else is very parallel. So it's not exact, but it's really necessary, because otherwise if you didn't say ferret cages, it would imply all the cages, and that's not the correct information that the statement is intending to imply, or express, I should say. Number 10, the trip was started too late. So was started too late is a really wonky way of just saying that it was delayed, right? So that's that's a clearer and shorter way of saying that. So the answer to number 10 was D, as well as to number 9. So 9 and 10 were both D. Let's look at questions 11 and 12. So number 11, she always enjoyed seeing the complimentary mint left on the hotel pillow. So complimentary there is spelled with an E. She always enjoyed seeing the complimentary mint left on the hotel pillow. Number 12, how many pencils are over there on the table? So I'll give you 3 minutes. After 1 minute, I'll start to give you some hints. Okay, so for 11, we're really testing the word choice between complementary with an E and complementary with an I. Complementary with an E is matching up or corresponding with another part or another segment or another item in order to make up a whole value. So for example, complementary angles add up to 90 degrees. So it just means that one goes with another. Complementary with an I, however, can either mean that someone is complimentary in the way that they are praising you or that they're giving you accolades or positive feedback or remarks. Or it could also mean given at no cost, so gratis or free. So here the complimentary mint is a free mint. It's given at no cost to you. So we want complimentary spelled with an I. For number 12, we're testing the difference between there, and there. So there, T-H-E-R-E, is a preposition. It shows a relationship between two items in usually implying physical distance. This one is over here, but that one's over there, implying that it's a farther distance away than the other item. There, meaning T-H-E-Y apostrophe R-E, that's a contraction for the phrase they are. So that is that stands for a pronoun and verb combination in of itself. And then there, T-H-E-I-R, is a possessive pronoun. So it's a plural possessive pronoun. So those books over there belong to Daniel and Mike. Those are their books, right? Because they belong to them. So the answer to number 11 was B, and the answer to 12 was also B. If you have any questions, then please let me know. Otherwise, let's look at 13 and 14. asks, among all the seasons, among all the seasons, summer is hotter. And 14, the wind blew, comma, then the leaves rustled. So I'll give you 3 minutes. After 1 minute, I'll start to give you some hints. Okay, so for 13 and 14, 13, among all the seasons, summer is hotter. So among is the correct word here because we're comparing more than two things. We're comparing all the seasons to each other, and there are 4 seasons. So more than 2 items, we need to use the superlative form, which in the case of an adjective is the EST suffix. So not hotter, that's the comparative form. That's just when you're comparing one thing to another, comparing two things, comparing two things to each other. Here, we have more than 2 things, so we need hottest, not hotter. And 14, the wind blew, comma, then the leaves rustled. So here we need to use the temporal preposition that's describing time placement. First, the wind had to blow before the leaves can rustle. The leaves can't rustle before the wind blew. And then for the same reason, C and D are not correct. C is a cause-effect conjunction. So the wind doesn't blow because the leaves rustled. The leaves rustled because the wind blew. And then the same thing after, using the word after there would imply the wrong directionality of time. It would also imply that the leaves rustled before the wind blew. So the correct answer to 13 was D, and the correct answer to number 14 was B. If you have any questions, then please let me know. Otherwise, let's look at 15 and 16. 15 is asking, if you're a nice person, you would call and apologize. 16, in recognition to your service to this company, you will receive a bonus. I'll give you 3 minutes. After 1 minute, I'll start to give you hints. Okay, so for 15, they're really testing the difference between your Y-O-U-R and your Y-O-U apostrophe R-E. So Y-O-U-R is a possessive pronoun. It's the possessive form of the pronoun you. So that's your book over there belonging to you. Y-O-U apostrophe R-E is a contraction of the phrase you are. So which we need to use here, we need to determine. If you're a nice person, in other words, if you are a nice person, you would call and apologize. So the answer to 15 is D. For 16, this is really testing whether we're using the correct idiomatic phrase, really whether we're picking the correct preposition for this phrase. So the idiomatic phrase in recognition of your service. You wouldn't say in recognition to your service, it's actually of. And this is one of the trickier areas of English. This is a list of phrases that you really just have to memorize, unfortunately. But this is a highly Googleable, I'm sorry, I can't say that right now, that's crazy. But you can Google a list of idiomatic phrases to see which are using what preposition, because it is a little bit of a memorization tactic. So the answer to 16 was D. Both of them, actually. 15 and 16 were both D. As always, if you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, let's move on to 17 and 18. Okay, question number 17. I am driving for a distance of 300 miles. Number 18. Those taxi drivers who drive taxis know the city the best. So these are really testing efficacy and conciseness of language. So I'm going to give you 3 minutes. After 1 minute, I'll give you some hints. Okay, so for 17 and 18, actually both of the underlined portions should be omitted or deleted. That's because they present redundant information. In the first example, in 17, I am driving for a distance of 300 miles. So if you're driving and you're driving for 300 miles, that's implied that you're driving for a distance because miles is a form or it's a measure, a unit measure of distance. So we don't need to use the phrase a distance of. We can just simply say I am driving for 300 miles. That's much more concise and a lot more effective as a sentence, as a declarative statement. 18, those taxi drivers who drive taxis know the city the best. So if we say that they're taxi drivers, it's implied that, or not even implied, it's explicitly stated just in a different form. It's in the noun form, but we know if they're taxi drivers, that means that they drive taxis. So we don't need to state it again. So we should also omit the underlined portion in number 18. So the answer to number 18 and, 17 and 18 were both D. If you have any questions, then please let me know. Otherwise, let's look at 19 and 20. Question 19 asks, please respond to the request for information quickly and with accuracy. Number 20, you will need several items, e.g. blankets, sandwiches, and juice boxes at the picnic. So I'll give you 3 minutes. After 1 minute, I'll start to give you some hints. I'm so sorry, it got disconnected again. I'll restart the time. Sorry about that. I keep hitting the button and unfortunately it disconnects. So my deepest apologies. I'll have it right back up. There we go. Okay, so I'll restart the time for 3 minutes. Thank you for your understanding. Okay, so for 19 and 20, well, specifically let's start with 19. Please respond to the request for information quickly and with accuracy. So quickly is an adverb. We can tell by that classic ly suffix ending there. And accuracy is a noun. So we want to make sure that we're listing, whenever possible, items in parallel structure, which means consistent grammatical forms. So is there a way to write accuracy with accuracy as an adverb? And yes, there is. So we want quickly and oh no, there's a typo here. I'm so sorry. 19 should be D without the conjunction with, and I'm so sorry about that. I was busy writing down these notes for you. Did not notice that. So I'm going to take that out. So it should be quickly and accurately, so that they're both adverbs that are going back to and modifying the verb respond. So please respond quickly and accurately. My apologies about that if that threw you off while you were answering that. So sorry. 19 was D. For 20, we have this abbreviation EG. So I wrote down here the differences between IE, EG, and also etc. To define them for you. A lot of students think that IE means in example. It doesn't. It's IE and EG are actually abbreviations of Latin phrases, and so IE does not stand for the English words in example. EG actually stands for or means in example. When you're going to go off and list specific items, and also when you imply that there's more than those items, but you're just giving like a sample of all the items that are required or that are relevant to the list, you use EG. IE means more such that, or along the lines of this. It's more general and conceptual rather than specifically detailing exact items that you need. And then etc. means so on and so forth. That wasn't used here. Neither was IE, but I just wanted to define them while we're here. Whenever any of these three abbreviations occur mid-sentence, they need to be surrounded by commas. And most people get the comma before, but a lot of people forget the comma after. So that's important. So the answer to 20 was D. You need comma first, because we need to separate items from EG, and then we need a comma after EG. Notice that that looks a little strange, but that is grammatically correct to have a period and then a comma. Whenever you have an abbreviation, this occurs also with suffixes. If you have like somebody who has a junior or a senior in their name, if it occurs mid-sentence, it needs to be surrounded by commas. Also the same thing with degrees. That needs to be surrounded by a comma as well. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, let's take a look at 21 and 22. And these would bring us up to the end of class today. So these will be the last two problems for today. 21 asks, my brother Dan will be arrived at the airport in a few hours. And that should have an underline here. This should be the underlined portion. Let me add that in. So Dan will be arrived is the phrase in 21 that you should be analyzing. So my brother Dan will be arrived at the airport in a few hours. And 22, we visited so many great places: Annapolis, Maryland, Alexandria, Virginia, and Washington, D.C. I'll give you 3 minutes. After 1 minute, I'll start to give you some hints. Okay, so for number 21, my brother Dan will be arrived at the airport in a few hours. Few things here. First of all, whenever we have a name, title, or term of endearment occurring mid-sentence, that's called an appositive phrase, and it needs to be separated. It's under the umbrella of a parenthetical, which is extra information. So this is extra information, but we're naming the brother, giving name to my brother. So it needs to be surrounded by commas. Also, the phrase will be arrived is incorrect. We need to have the ing ending to put it in the conditional future tense. So Dan, surrounded by commas, will be arriving at the airport in a few hours. So the answer to 21 is D. And for 22, we visited so many great places: Annapolis, Maryland, Alexandria, Virginia, and Washington, DC. Two things here. We're introducing a list of items. So we can use a colon to introduce the list. And then also, whenever you have a list of items that already contain commas, you can use semicolons to separate the items in the list. So then it doesn't seem as though we traveled to 6 different places. We just have a city-state combination, which, by the way, there should always be a comma between a city and state whenever you're listing them out, or writing them out, I should say. If you have any questions on anything that we've done today, then please feel free to let me know in the comment section. If you like these videos and feel that they're helpful, please like, share, and subscribe with your friends. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. Dr. Tots, you want to say goodbye? Come on, you want to get a cookie? You were very good today. Come on, let's say bye to everybody. Come on, can you say bye? Come on, bye. Come on, bye. Okay, very good. All right, thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you all tomorrow.